Welcome to another episode of the WeakLEE Podcast. My guest with me today is somebody that my brother been knowing for a very long time. She's Alicia Eye Girl. She put on Alicia's eyes.
She's more than that to me.
That's my term. I mean, she's the eye lady.
I love her.
She do my mama eyes too. And I wasn't really for that.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
I created a
my
monster.
mama ain't never do that. And then you come around and
He's
then
so disgusting with that.
I mean, it looked good.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
I owe her an
Yeah,
appointment.
it
She
did
got
look
white
good.
toenails now. She cutting up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did that.
Yes.
Hats off to us. We did that.
But man,
We are
it's
proud of
Kaity.
Pat yourself on the back, queens. Yes.
Yeah, it's Kaity,
Absolutely.
man.
Yes.
Tell the little people about yourself, Kaity.
Hi, y'all. My name's Kaity. I'm born and raised in New Orleans.
Mhm.
Moved around a bit. You know, my family's a village, so they're all over the place. I'm an entrepreneur right now. I'm in real estate, kind of going where the money flows. I'm very elated to be here, honored to be here. I'm the first white guest.
Yeah.
Apparently, is that true?
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really not even giving white girls, so they wouldn't even know.
Well, you know, there's
She's
more
not.
to that, but yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Should have kept me in the oven, but God took me out. It's all right. It's all right.
I love her. So much.
It's
We
all
have so
right.
much
It's
fun.
okay.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, so I'm in real estate right now. Honored to be here. That's about, I don't know, my favorite color is red.
We see that.
Loving this read on you too.
What else should I say
That's
about
it.
myself, y'all? I
If
don't
that's all you. That's all you.
Yeah, that's the intro for now. You
Yeah.
know, this entire episode, I'll let you like talk more about it first, but it's gonna
Mhm.
introduce a lot more about me with how my responses are and stuff
How
like
you
that.
raised. Where
Yeah.
you coming up.
Yeah.
Where you come
Yeah.
from. So we're going to
Exactly.
talk about accountability.
Yeah.
Some people have a real hard time dealing with.
For sure. For me, you know, accountability, I guess this would lead us into the first question. I guess if you just want to ask it, but
Well, go ahead. Roll with it. Who started you with the whole understanding of accountability?
so for me, learning a lot of lessons at a very young age when my parents separated, it was my aunt and my dad because they caught me in some shit.
How old
Like,
you was when your parents separated?
I was in 5th grade, so 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But the separation was kind of happening as we were coming back from living in North Carolina after Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved in with my grandmother in Metairie at the time. Mind you, house flooded on Orleans. The owners of the home didn't want to give it back to us. My dad wanted to buy it. They didn't want to sell it. I know why. It's a gold mine, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so moving on from that, we moved back in from my grandmother for a while until my parents secured a better home for us. And then it all kind of fell apart from there. That was more so of a cry for help for me with my parents separating, being taken away from my dad because of my mom. And once I moved back in and things started unfolding, my mom had a phone she was hiding from my dad.
Yeah.
And I would steal the phone from my mom, like behind her back. And because my dad didn't know about it and she couldn't say anything about it, I got to use the phone and I would be like texting my friends at school and hitting them up and like having conversations, acting like it's my phone for days on end. And then my mom would finally get mad looking for the phone everywhere, tossing stuff in the house. I'd just throw it somewhere. Like, under a sofa cushion, under some furniture. Like I just toss it somewhere.
Yeah.
And she'd find it days later and whatnot. And she caught on to it eventually, but the cat was out the bag with you lying behind my daddy back and you had a phone because you're cheating on him.
Yeah.
And it kind of unfolded from there. And like I was the catalyst of that, like
Right.
telling on my mom. And from then on, I was in the middle of the divorce. And I think that was a big reason for me to spend my grandma's money, spend my mom's money, spend my dad's money without telling them, buying iTunes, music, whatever I want, ordering stuff online,
Yeah.
buying gifts for friends for birthday parties. I would give my friends baskets of stuff. And yeah, I would just
doing anything.
anything. And my aunt called me one day. She said, Kaity, I'm liable to report you for fraud and send you to the Fed. And like 11 years old at this point. This was now 11, 12, like
Yeah.
ages later when it got bad. And I was like, man, Aunt Donna, I understand. Because it was a lot. Like, I spent like $5K at one point just between my grandma's card and my dad's.
Right.
And yeah, nothing bad to that extent happened to me. You know what I mean? I had to get a job. I had to pay it down. Like, I worked summer jobs and stuff like that. I had to pay my dad back, pay it all off. And it was a tough lesson for me at that time because now I'm going into Catholic school. You know, I don't know what to expect going to an all-girls Catholic school where I'm really held accountable for my behavior.
Yeah.
And I straightened out during Catholic school, but
You think or you know?
no, I do. Yeah, no, I straightened out. I didn't have a child in high school. I didn't end up in that many fights in high school. You know?
Many.
2, you know, I had 2. Yeah, it was 2. I had 2. Just 2. But I mean, yeah, understanding accountability came from them because the lessons that they taught me were don't do that shit. Like, you know,
It basically really getting you to learn things and figure out on your own. Learn from your own mistake.
That and just like on some beyond scared straight things.
Yeah.
Like, you do this in real life.
This was gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you steal from a job. Like, you do like things to that nature when you get the trust of maintaining a bank account and someone's card and things like that. Like, there was a reason I had my grandma's card. Shouldn't have been using it for my own personal reasons.
Right.
You know, there was a reason my grandma entrusted me to doing things for her, and I took advantage of her at a young age.
Right.
Me being held accountable to that at 12, 13, 14 years old, so reaping what I sowed from that, that was a tough pill to swallow then.
Yeah.
Like, as a kid.
Right.
So now being an adult and going through things where I'm now learning more about myself, and I'll answer additional questions, but from a reactionary standpoint, how we as adults react to things happening to us, trauma instilled in us, that matters like a lot.
But it comes from us growing up young. Like you said, you making a mistake like that. And you probably wouldn't have learned from it if your dad was like, all right, well, I'm going to pay it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to just pay it.
Right.
I'm going to give everybody their money back and we're going to go about your business.
Right.
And then you probably kept doing it.
Right. No, exactly that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. But access was revoked at that point. You know what I mean? I lost the trust of family.
Yeah.
And that was hard to gain back. You know, that took forever to gain back. That took me growing up and proving them wrong as an adult. You understand what I mean? Like, I didn't end up couch surfing after my dad died. I don't reach out to my family and ask them for money.
Right.
I'm not stealing from people.
Right.
You know? So when I look at that in relation to me as an adult and how true I am and what I do now and making an honest living of myself from a very young age, it's entirely different. It's a 180.
Right.
I'm almost too honest. Honestly, that's like when it comes to our next is it the next question? Why do people feel they have a hard time accepting accountability? Oh no, my bad. It's the third question, but I'll answer that one next. So people, I feel, have a hard time accepting accountability because they just don't want to come to terms and like admit it to themselves, or they don't have people holding them accountable. I think it's hard to criticize yourself, but I feel like more people should do it, no?
Yeah, for sure. But that goes with upbringing. Like you said, if people don't hold you accountable early, you ain't gonna take it in when you get older.
Right.
And then you're gonna be looking at people just looking at you like they being disrespectful. You don't want nobody to tell you nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong with a lot of people now.
So another lesson I'll speak on was I have an older cousin, and he got a DUI, got in a major accident, flipped his truck on a neutral ground, like drunk driving, straight out of high school and college. And my aunt, same one who taught me the same lesson about what I did to my grandma and my dad, did the same thing to him. And was like, you revoked access to everything. Your license is gone. You got to pay this off. You got to get your own attorney. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to do all the things your goddamn self.
Yeah, that's stuff expensive for sure.
And you have to get yourself out of that. I'm going to do what I can to help you. I'm going to make some calls here and there, but you got to get yourself out of this. And you have to prove yourself right. Later on, his mom was taking out credit cards in his name and running his credit in the dirt. May she rest in peace. We've all forgiven her. My Aunt Betty. Love her to death. But Lord have mercy. She did a number on my cousin and his credit and his life.
Yeah.
And that he didn't know about that until way after the fact either. And when all of that came out and transpired, it was the same thing over and over and over again. Like I had lessons before me to understand accountability. I had reasons and examples in my life to understand accountability. When you talk about upbringing with people, if the people that are in front of them aren't teaching them that and nobody's holding them accountable, it's the cycle repeating itself. So if I had to learn from those lessons, go through my own lessons, and ultimately make the decision for my damn self to never be that way and never act that way and never make those mistakes again, I make that decision every day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And that's the upbringing and the repercussions of that.
Yeah. Because when you hold people accountable, or the people who don't be wanting to hear it, they, like I said, look at it as disrespect.
Right.
And don't be wanting to hear nothing about, oh, well, I did this, so you should forgive me.
Right.
I'm such and such, so you should forgive me.
But
We're
I think,
friends, so
right.
it shouldn't be looked at like that.
Right.
But nah, don't go like that.
Right. And I think it goes back to accountability in the sense that people should really like look within and be their own toughest critics. I am extremely critical of myself mentally, like to a debilitating state sometimes, and I can admit that. Like, and I pay for therapy sessions and I do the work to balance that to the best of my ability. My therapist likes to say I receive a lot and I receive energy that other people give me, and I am almost like a sounding board for it. Like I take the impact off of someone else. And then I problem solve. And it's a trauma response, but it's a problem solving trauma response that's damn near my identity at this point. It makes me money at this point.
But that's because you know that you're not perfect.
Right. No, I wholeheartedly.
And a lot of people feel like
would never admit that, I guess.
Yeah. But a lot of people who lack accountability are the ones who feel like ain't nothing wrong with them.
Right.
Like I know everything, so you can't tell me nothing.
Right. Right.
But I think that's directly related to upbringing and like your environment as well, because when I think about accountability, I feel like that's one of the virtues that you can't create from nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
You had to have somebody model that for you in order to know how to be accountable.
And having like a role model.
Yeah, having somebody hold you accountable is
easier
for you to reproduce that and hold yourself accountable or hold other people around you accountable.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, like, people who are like that, they don't have good examples of accountability because nobody around them is doing the same thing.
I have other lighthearted stories, like in regards to how I was raised, and when I speak on my village and I talk on different examples of accountability. I have my best friend Daniela, known her since Cabrini days from high school. She knew my daddy like the back of her hand. My dad was like her dad because her dad passed when she was 8. Her mom would pick me and Daniela up from school. I would go back to her house, and my dad would usually pick me up from there after his long work hours and things like that. If we wanted to go anywhere and do anything from Daniela mama house, room had to be spotless, bathroom had to be clean, homework had to be done, anything that needed to be put up, her slippers, her laundry, whatever we needed to do needed to be done. Daniela hated cleaning. I would do everything. Because I wanted to go out. I wanted to do whatever we needed to do. And I knew she would give us the money. I knew she would do it all as long as we just did what we needed to do. So in those instances of accountability, like I always respected her mom. She would feed me. She gave me a roof over my head. She gave me a bed to sleep in. There was no shortage of anything when I was with her. And my dad trusted her and relied on her because I didn't have my mom raising me.
Right.
You know, my parents separated. My mom separated me and my sister too. I've extended an olive branch to my mom in our relationship, and then I can speak to that in my adult life. But through my entire adolescence, my mom was not present at all. I was raised by any of my best friends' mamas. All my best friends were black. Every single last one of them.
Right.
Any school I went to, even before it was Audubon. Audubon was the main school I enrolled in after Katrina when we moved back to New Orleans. Audubon is a majority black Montessori school. and a French immersion school. The French immersion side was white. And even growing up, going to Cabrini. Cabrini is definitely more of an integrated school, smaller, way more integrated as far as cultures and who we accepted, more so than your Dominican, Mount Carmel, Chappelle, majority white schools. No shade. Shout out to all y'all. Just speaking truth.
Right.
And that made me uncomfortable. Like going to those spend-a-days as a child, and then going. I called my daddy after Mount Carmel. I was like, Daddy, ain't no black people here. It's all white people.
Right.
Like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't relate to these girls and like their suburban life because I didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
And it's no shame to how I was raised with my family. And where the money fell off and where the riches fell in my upbringing and things like that. It's just at this point in my life when my teenage time was coming in and growing into a woman and developing and learning things, sex was being mentioned to me for the first time in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade and things like that. Like that's all from the culture around me. And it was black culture.
Did you get a lot of backlash with that?
For sure. Because I admit to overstepping my bounds as a young child, like trying to be cool, trying to be down. And I've wholeheartedly apologized to all my longstanding friends and childhood friends about my ignorance as a child. And they were like, Kaity, we were fucking kids. I'm like, it still is not an excuse. You understand what I'm saying? Knowing what I know now, at growing up, learning, and understanding the significance in things and the example I'm supposed to be as an ally, as a companion, as a friend, as now a mother to a black child, that's unacceptable, And I'm not raising my son to be that way. I would never allow other children to subject other children to that. And yeah, that
So
I'm
would you be
rambling,
a parent?
but
No, I'm
good.
sorry. You're good. So as a parent now, how do you feel like you're going to instill that in your son?
I've been through a lot with my son's dad, and a good friend of mine asked me not that long ago when I was talking about it with her. She was like, if you had a daughter, would you have done everything you did sooner or just walked away sooner than when you did with having a son?
Would you?
The honest answer probably would have been no.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the timing of everything, which I'm not going to get into.
When you was there mentally too.
Right. And it just instilling and wanting a family, right?
Yeah.
Like being pregnant,
desiring
that. Yeah, it was different. But it brung up a lot of really good thought-provoking moments and like flashbacks to me. And I'm proud of the, kind of where the dominoes fell with my decision making and my reactions and things and how I handled things with my ex. Because when my son comes to me and asks me the side of the story, like I know that I stood up for myself in those moments and I did what I needed to do to protect me and him at all costs.
Right.
And I want my son to grow up loving both of his parents and knowing whatever truth is, meant to come about it. Never to know a lie. I'm not raising my son to lie. The white lies and things like that to kids, I really don't. I feel like that's where that fucked me up as a kid. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where the white lies that I heard or saw or were subjected to through my cousins or adults around me during my young adolescence, 5, 6, 7 years old before Katrina, that showed me what I did 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know what I mean? Like that laid the path for that. And all of these experiences align. Like if you don't have these epiphanies, if you don't have these like self-preservation moments with yourself where you just get on your knees, pray to God and cry and look at yourself in the mirror and be disgusted with yourself, I don't know how somebody I don't know, because I'm so desperate for the life that I envision for myself, right? And the only way I can achieve that is by remaining faithful to God first and foremost, but speaking in my truth, walking in my truth, and just always paying it forward. And I feel like any job I've had, any purpose I feel like I have to fulfill is literally to pay it forward to the next person and encourage the next person to love themselves, trust themselves in beauty, trust that they don't need anything other than lashes and no makeup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Literally, we want Kaity for president, yo.
y'all so funny. Y'all so funny. Y'all don't want that for real. Boy, the wars
for
would
president
end,
of all the
But
bad
nah,
but
but you
men
had
would
to-
be
we love it.
angry.
But you had to go
Yes.
through all that for you to become who you are.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm proud of myself. You know, this Mother's Day I spent it with my family, and you know, we had a good brunch together, and it was good to just have that moment as our family together.
Uh-huh.
But I still spent majority of the day alone with my son. I wanted, like, it was my ex's weekend. He could have kept Jax, but I didn't. I wanted to be with my son.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't just want to go drink with my friend. Like, I love being a mom. I love having my son in my presence and taking him to do things and showing him new experiences and enjoying outside and hearing his laugh and hearing him tell me no a million times. Like, I don't care. So I kept him and we went out to the river and we watched the sunset because I love me a good sunset.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing day. And I just reminisced in where I'm at. I got a new house. I got an amazing job. I'm about to get a new car. I'm about to get a raise.
Okay.
All right. I'm booking trips.
Doing
I'm
your
going to see
thing.
Chris Brown twice this year, child. Life is looking up, baby.
Life is
All I
life,
need
man.
is my passport to get here, my son's passport to get here, and a vacation
That's it.
and a balcony, child. That's it.
Nah.
Please, Lord.
Not a vacation without a balcony.
Yeah, it is not. Mm-mm. We'll cut that out. Make that a blooper. Make that a little real intro to when you drop the
episode.
the episode. Yeah. That's
What
funny.
question you have for me, Katie?
Who like made you want to be accountable? Like, at what point was it multiple lessons for you? I feel like it was because
Yeah.
I know a little bit more
Yeah.
about you personally and the family. You know,
It definitely was multiple lessons.
right?
You want me to give you the start to the finish?
I do, because I don't know if I truly know the start.
The start of the whole accountability thing with me had to have been after say we first moved back here from Covington, and me being upset with my dad, but I wanted to come here, but me just being upset with him about leaving Atlanta, but it wasn't his fault because he asked, but I really pressed for us to come back to be closer to him because I was away from him. So I was like, all right, well, since Dad's not coming to Atlanta, then we need to go back to him if we're able to. But I used to blame him for that because, like, looking back at our lives, like Darius getting older and me getting older, it's like I could have had somewhat of the same thing as Darius did if I would stay in Atlanta. But that's,
Okay.
but
yeah.
that was
The
my
path
fault.
was different.
Yeah, but that was my fault
Right.
because I'm the one. Oh, I miss my dad. Let's go back to Louisiana.
Yeah.
But nah, that should have been all me.
Do you feel like your decision, you know, when your dad asked you that, was like an emotional one?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah.
Because I missed him.
Right.
Because I wasn't used to being away from him that long.
Right.
Because he was coming back and forth from Atlanta to Louisiana probably. He'd come to Atlanta probably for a week and then be gone for 2 weeks or something like that. Back working and all that.
Yeah.
And he'll miss some of my practices, miss some of my games, and then I'd be like, man, I ain't really feeling this. Because, like, growing up, every basketball game I had, every halftime I'd go to, like, once halftime hit, I'll go with my dad, what I need to do, and then go back to the coach.
Yeah.
Like, he always was there. And him not being there, like, yeah,
It was a
I'm ready to go.
significant loss. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then, like, up to my adult age now, the person who helped me see was my ex. Because I realized we failed because of me, not because of her. The respect that I didn't have for her and the respect she didn't have for me is the real reason why we didn't work.
Right.
We just ain't respect each other.
Right.
And that's really just what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay when you get older and realize it,
Right.
but it started with my fault. It was my fault. And I take the charge for that.
Yeah.
I'm now that I done been through the whole divorce separation thing. I
Mhm.
realized how to navigate my life now. Going through things that you don't want to go through, going through the hurt and the
Right.
crying, the praying is just like, okay, now I see what I need to do from now on. I see why I reacted a certain type of way. I see why I did a lot of things that I did.
Right.
And now it's easy for me not to do it
Mm.
because I learned the lesson.
Right.
So now that I got with Alicia, so it's just like, now I'm just this person she ain't never think she'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like when me and Alicia first met, she probably never think I could be like this.
You want to talk about two completely different people? Two completely different people.
And it's like,
I can believe it.
I had to be
I
like,
believe it.
nah.
I know your brother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I really had to, okay, Darren,
Yeah.
get your head out your ass
Mm-hmm.
and really be like, what you trying to do?
Yeah.
You trying to be better, or you trying to just keep
Yeah.
doing anything?
I can't lie. I'm going through a similar thing right now with my ex. Like, there's a lot of accountability in our situation that I have to admit to, you know, and that relates back to being more reactionary and acknowledging that sometimes my message is extremely direct in the sense that when you talk about question number 3, why do some people feel when someone's holding them accountable, they're being disrespectful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could be right. I could be really right, but my delivery
Could be
can
wrong.
be really wrong.
Yeah.
And I think from a reactionary and emotional standpoint, you know, when anger is involved, emotions are heightened, you feel wronged, you know what I mean? And you just want to express your emotions
And that tone
prove
come
why
out.
you're right. That tone and attitude comes out. And it feels condescending.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you like looking down on somebody,
Mhm.
like talking to them crazy. Like, I've had my moments doing that for sure.
And you don't get the reaction that you really thought that you was coming with.
No, totally. And treating a person with respect despite being disrespected is an emotional control within yourself that I recognize that I'm attaining that ability more and more and more by the day because of what I do in my line of work. Like, it is very important that I maintain my emotional control and my response and my reaction every single day, all day long.
Yeah.
And I met with some crazy stuff, but it's extremely important to just recognize your delivery and things, how you speak to people, and taking accountability in things you've done and correcting it, right?
Mhm.
Like changing the behavior.
Yeah.
You know? It's the acknowledging mistakes in iterations and doing 10,000 plus iterations over and over and over again that gets you to be a master at something and truly teach you how to function and be a boss and keep your head held high, your chin up, and literally let nothing waver or fault you or make you second guess who you are. You know,
because that's
really
one
important.
thing I realized though with conversations and arguments too, just like how you say things. Because I got a heavy voice, and it's like a lot of times I may yell, but to me I may not be yelling, but to her I'm yelling. So it's like working to correct that is a challenge, but for me to keep giving the respect that I want, you got to do certain things you don't want to do.
Yeah. You got to change the habits.
Yeah.
And habits are hard to break. You know, they're hard to break. And when you love someone and you have a partner, you got to love the person enough to like acknowledge that annoyance until they get it.
But
right?
But not really just love. You got to respect them. Because that's really one thing that I realized. Me and Lisa talked about this like a few days ago. Outside of her being who she is in my life, I see her as a great person. So I'm respecting her outside of who she is to me. Right. And vice versa. Just like you, I'm going to respect you because of who you are. Right. Not just, oh, that's Kaity.
No,
she's cool. She's my friend.
Right.
And we lose sight of that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Which is why we get disrespectful
Mm-hmm.
and aggravated
Mm-hmm.
and short patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we gotta respect everybody, man. Gotta give respect to get it.
You're absolutely right about that.
And a lot of people don't want to be held accountable. Always want
Right.
respect, but don't want to give it.
Give it. Right.
Because they ain't never been held accountable when they be disrespected.
But that's what I
When they be
was like, when you want to talk about like self-awareness and honesty in people, like I've been in the spa industry, right? I managed Woodhouse Day Spa and the Now for quite a bit. And you know, we did more marketing and influencer relations at the Now than Woodhouse. And influencers in this city, you know, I could speak firsthand to that. I got a big head.
Yeah.
Big old head. All right. And it's the professionalism. It's the lack of communication. Like, it's the lack of follow-up. It's you said the deadline was going to be this day and we 5 days past this day and you still don't have what we asking for, you know? And in those instances, it's tough with people because you expect highly of them.
Yeah.
You speak highly of them. You speak to what you know about them and their response and, you know, actioning things and wanting to like include you in things and be thankful to be asked to do something, you know? And it's disappointing when it doesn't work out that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's all business, nothing personal, but just say that, you know? Just say you're not interested in doing this experience.
Exactly.
Don't be in it for the free whatever and not really
giving you all in it.
Yeah. Like the reward has to go hand in hand for us both. The intention we gave into giving something to somebody for free and how thoughtful we were in doing that and picking a person, and then to not receive the same intention, you know, content back. Like that was significant. I was like, okay.
But like, don't deal with them no more.
It's not even that, because I would still reach out to a handful of people that I spoke highly of even then.
Yeah.
For different things, you know, even in doing this, like I would love to bridge the gap in identifying myself and people reaching out to me and me reaching out to them and creating spaces for our community in New Orleans. Like we need it.
Right.
Like
for sure. There's
a really big concept that I want to bring to this city and I don't even know where to begin on bringing it here. It's originated in New York, but I want to bring this to life this year so bad because I think it'll be a great avenue for pieces of New Orleans to come back together and us to like celebrate our communities again and raise money for things again. Like back in the day, I don't know how many of us are like really from New Orleans mid-city area, but they would always throw symphonies at the park. And it would be throughout the summer and there would be a giant stage set up and a symphony would come play and the park will be available to everybody. When families come out, everybody listens to music, you donate whatever, people walk around, donation bins, whatever the case. And those instances, that's just one example of things that I want to see be brought back into our city on a regular basis for people in our community to enjoy. We have spaces we don't even utilize on a regular basis for things.
I think that's because the city, I really still don't feel the city is back yet.
No.
From the
hopefully
hurricane.
That and just
I really don't feel like
just our politics in general, but we ain't gonna get into that.
Right.
Ask me to come back for that episode though. When we want to do a politics panel, we gotta educate the people, y'all.
Yes, perfect person for that.
Yeah,
Facts.
I got other people in mind you can ask for the podcast. Honestly,
Right.
I got some people in mind for that. Another story for a different day. What question we on?
You got one more question for me?
Oh, dang, what was my other question for you? Wait, was that the one that I just asked you? Was the one you asked me to ask you? That was the one, right? Shit. Hold on, let me look at my notes.
You said that's the one, you already gonna ask me that.
Jackson's very reactive. So I'm raising my son with accountability of like timeouts, taking toys away, revoking the screen time immediately when we're throwing tantrums and stuff like that for no reason. Because I'm trying to teach Jackson to communicate.
Right.
And speak. You know, we're working on speech and things like that. Being 3, he still has a little bit of a delay, but it's a vast improvement being in therapy and things like that. Did you have any challenges with your boys like really holding them accountable to how they respond in the moment at school?
Still have that problem.
Okay.
I think that just
It's
it's
a
just
boy
a kid
and a
thing.
normal toddler thing.
Yeah, cause like now, Dre, my youngest boy.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask him to do something, he be like, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just straight up say, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, go do it. But I don't want to. I don't care.
Right.
Then he'll get hit, or he gotta go sit down.
Mm-hmm.
He don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't want to do it.
Dang.
And then it's like,
That's
still
the point
working.
I don't want Jackson to get to.
Right. And it's like I'm still trying to work what way to fix this problem.
Right.
Cause Drew, my oldest, he all right there. Like he delay with it sometime because he really don't want to do it neither. But yet, when I look at him a certain way, he goes and do it.
What's the age difference again?
Drew 7, Dre 3.
Oh, okay.
So it's like when I look at Drew a certain way,
yeah,
he go do it. But
right.
Dre, he just be like, I don't want to.
So what? So is there a difference in how Dre was raised between 1 to 3 versus?
Yeah, from 1 to 3. 1 to 3, me and Drew mom was together.
And what?
With Dre,
still
when
like
Dre, me and his mama never was together.
Okay.
But it's like he looks up to his big brother, but certain things he do not like how his brother did it. So I'm still trying to see if you know how some people say if you get to the oldest, the rest gonna follow.
Right.
I'm really still trying to see if that's gonna work with that, or see if I gotta go a different way with Dre.
Yeah.
But it goes with how you feeling too. Like if he tired, he ain't gonna do nothing. If he hungry, he ain't gonna do nothing.
Right.
But if he in a good mood, he'll clean up the whole room.
Yeah.
So it really just be a mood thing.
Yeah.
In the mood that they be in.
Behavior for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I feel the same way about Jackson. You know, I'm transitioning him to a new school, and he's transitioning out of his speech therapy program he was in school, and we're doing outpatient therapy moving forward. But he still kind of breaks down and has moments sometimes when he doesn't get his way. Yeah. And that's that only child syndrome, I guess. You know, child's asking for another baby. That ain't happening.
Right now.
Ain't happening. And I, you know, in these moments, I'm trying to have like the patience to just speak with him about things. And we had a Mother's Day brunch at school, and Jackson was sitting on my lap, and I was like, "Now, mommy not leaving with you. You staying at school." Right. I'm like, you know, grandma coming to get you. Like, Mimi is coming to get you. Mommy is not taking you. Okay. So I need you to not be sad when mommy leaves. And there was a handful of moms around me, and it was like, man, I can't do that gentle parenting shit. And I was like, oh, I didn't really think that was gentle parenting. I'm just talking to my son and acknowledging his feelings. Yeah. Because my son needs his feelings validated. Yeah. Ladies. Yeah. Mothers of sons. Let's acknowledge our son's feelings. Because if we don't acknowledge our son's feelings in their adolescence, then they grow up to be emotionally unavailable.
Terrible husbands who hate women.
Thank you. Thank you for finishing that sentence. We can cut it right there. Honestly,
that's for another episode.
No, y'all gotta like clip that for those promos. I'm dead ass. Like that's like that shit that'll get you to like the clicks for real. Right. But yeah, like in those moments, like I'm validating and acknowledging my son's feelings because they're important. And I low-key feel like where he's at right now, they don't do that enough. Right. Like they don't communicate with the child one-on-one enough. And my son will be transitioning to a more Montessori learning, you know, hands-on learning, activity and play, because that's what my son needs in order to thrive, in order to communicate, in order to not be so reactionary and not be so willing to butt heads, you know, and have such a strong opinion on, no, I want to do it my way and I want to do it now. And the reason I get met with that at home is because he gets that all day at school. Right. You know, and it was very apparent to me with my son, with his behavior, because I knew it was because he couldn't communicate his feelings at school. I knew why he was acting out was because there was a lack of speech and communication. Yeah. And it was just react. And I don't want my son to grow up being raised in traumatic situations similar to mine. Because that won't happen. You know, I've immediately broken that chain.
Yeah.
From way earlier than my parents did, you know, and what I grew up with seeing them go through. Being raised by my dad and my dad's mom and dad before they passed. And it just matters, you know?
You just got to just make sure you stay on it.
No, absolutely.
Don't get lazy with it.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah, as long as you don't get lazy with it, you're going to be all good.
Because, you know, I still have my son majority of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to a point in my career where I'm only going to be able to give myself more time with my son. I'm not about to ask nobody else.
That's key.
I don't need to call on nobody to raise my son. I can do it. I can afford to do it all by myself.
That's key.
Don't, you know, and I have his dad, and his dad is great, and his dad is there. But the day-to-day and the accountability of potty training, swimming lessons, like the outpatient speech, picking him up from school, taking him to speech and things like that, like that's going to fall on me, and that's okay because I accept accountability and taking care of my son and giving him all the resources he needs because he didn't ask to struggle. And I think a lot of parents need to ask themselves that question. Your kids didn't ask to be here nor struggle.
Yeah, for real.
You know?
People who don't like being held accountable are ungrateful, feel like they know everything, don't want nobody to tell them that, and feel they're entitled to everything.
Yeah.
Everything's supposed to be given to them because they've been raised, everything given to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just what it is.
I feel like they're owed.
And that's one thing I'm going to make sure with my kids.
Nothing is owed to you.
Ain't nothing owed to you.
Ain't nothing owed to
you. It's
you.
not.
You know, in my upbringing, like my dad really raised me like I was his son, if I'm being real.
Yeah.
Like I have a very, very strong like opinion and mindset. Like I wear the pants. I am the head and the neck. God damn it. Like I know the most strategic, rational, realistic outcome of this situation. I've measured the risk and the reward. My decision is the decision. Yeah. And I've already learned a lesson about why my decision is the decision. Yeah. You know? And my dad taught me that from a very early age of nothing is owed to you. You're going to reap what you sow. You are, and my father raised me to wear the shirt off my back because I watched my daddy lay down his life for anybody and everybody. I watched my dad work for free. You know, I watched my dad do anything for anybody my entire life. I watched my dad raise me and my sister alone, and everybody would always compliment him on me and my sister's behavior and how he raised us and how composed we were and how polite we were.
Because that's how you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. And, you know, it matters. Like teaching your children awareness. People, some of my mom friends tell me, you too hard on Jackson. Like you too hard. I'm like, no, like my child is old enough to be aware of his surroundings and not run into another child. You know what I mean? Like my child is old enough to see. My child has very good vision. He sees an airplane in the sky. You mean to tell me you running into a child 15 miles per hour, knocking a child down on the playground, not paying attention? No, slow down and pay attention. Yeah. You know, be aware of your surroundings and people and what you're doing. I know you're excited, but in these moments, that's a little girl, you know? No, you make room for little girls on the playground. You let them go first. You know, at 3 years old, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Yeah. You give a woman her turn on the slide. You can go after her. Right. It's not going nowhere. You know what I mean? There's no reason to not teach our babies that. Those things
he learned young and going to carry it within his life.
Absolutely. Because you got to consider and be aware of the people around you. Yeah. And have an emotional intelligence and an IQ. You know, a very, very strict understanding of people. Yeah. And having empathy for people. And there's a major lack of empathy in this city. You know, even what I witnessed today, like I mentioned it before you walked in, but my agent went to go show a property we listed and killing, broad daylight. Dead body on the corner.
Ain't be in that house no more.
If she'd have been there, she was like, Kaity, if I hadn't stopped at Starbucks and got my drink, I'd have been in the middle of that shit. I'd have been there. And she was so distraught. You know, never having seen nothing like that before. She didn't even realize she took a picture of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she very shook up. And I, as desensitized as I am to it, it still don't make it okay in this city. Right. I hate it. It makes me want to leave. I don't want to raise jacks here.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Gotta be a better spot. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this episode with me.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Anybody need their lashes done? I'm going to have Kaity information in the description. I got your back.
We gonna be back at some point, ladies. I ain't really returning full force with that yet, but I will make a comeback to the industry soon. I will, and it maybe in a different way, but I'll be back. You know, I take clients here and there, and I'm happy to send y'all to better people, or y'all can, you know, get in where you fit in with me. But hit me up if you need a house. That's what I could do. If you need a place to rent, I got you. Yeah.
Say less.
Yep. Bye, y'all.
Another episode. Man, open eyes, Roma. Tune in next week. And this is the WeakLEE Podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tune in next week.